Hello, everyone. This is the South Florida Tech Podcast, a weekly show where we bring you the awesome, innovative people building our South Florida tech community. Each week, we'll introduce you to one of the Sunshine State's top tech leaders, learn more about who they are, what they do, and have some fun conversation along the way. Our podcast is, of course, presented by the South Florida Tech Association, a nonprofit dedicated to building South Florida into a tech hub. And I'm your host, Joe Russo, President and CEO. Starting off, would love to give a shout out to our sponsors, Emerge Americas. Each year, global enterprises, disruptive technology, and elite startups are highlighted at Emerge's premier tech event, Uniting and Connecting the Americas. It's held in Miami Beach and to date has hosted organizations from over 40 countries and featured over 250 speakers from around the world. Emerge is transforming the South Florida Tech Hub by connecting entrepreneurs, investors, and business leaders. And huge shout out to them for working with us and helping support our South Florida tech community. With that, we are really, really excited to have one of my favorite South Florida tech community members, Ryan Boylston, here with us today. He was one of the early people we talked about building a tech community, a tech organization with. He's a South Florida native, first in his family to go to college, and he received his degree from UCF, go Knights. And he's been an entrepreneur all of his life. Throughout his professional career, he started multiple companies and agencies like the Delray newspaper, the Boca newspaper, Joust Umbrellas, and Kitchen, which was a co-working space that and also joined forces with 1909 that we'll talk about in a little bit. Currently, he's the founder and CEO of Two Ton, a creative agency based here in the Palm Beaches that helps clients increase awareness and visibility with dynamic and creative marketing strategies. In addition to that, that wasn't enough for Ryan, he's also the vice mayor of Delray Beach, and he has 3 children. So he has got a really amazing wife to be able to handle all that with him in life. He does so much for his community and for the world. So thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us here today.
Well, thanks for having me, Joe. And thank you for pointing out my amazing wife. That is most important. That is a good closer.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had, I forget what spot we were in Delray about last year, but we all got to hang out for a little bit. It was really fun to kind of see the family side of Ryan a little bit too, because you are, by all dynamics, a cool dad. So
cool
that's got to be a good of a title as anything.
I think I have a coffee mug that says that. Yeah. So yeah, it's it's just all about balance and surrounding yourself with good people. And whether that's my team at Two Ton, who are just absolutely incredible. We have a team of 20. We're very lucky that even in the current environment, we were a team of 20 pre-COVID, and we're a team of 20 right now. We'll be a team of 20 or more post-COVID. So I'm very lucky to have those people around me. I'm very lucky, of course, for my very supportive wife with my very busy schedule. And then, of course, organizations like yourself, being able to help me as the vice mayor of Delray Beach in moving technology in our county forward, or creating spaces like the 1909 to help our startups. So it's all about who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So tell us a little bit more about just baseline, the elevator speech of who you are, what you do. Obviously you mentioned Two Ton briefly, and we'll get to that, but just to kind of generally, like, what do you do in your daily work life that makes you a part of the tech community here?
Yeah, so I started off in the auto industry, which is very strong in Florida, with companies like J&M Family Enterprises and AutoNation being headquartered here. And my job was to identify disconnects in marketing and processes at dealerships. It's one of the biggest disconnects in marketing. You look at these manufacturers, Toyota or Nissan or Lexus, and they have the best marketing in the world. But then you go down to the dealer level, and there's some guy screaming at you on the TV, on the radio, to buy a car that they don't even show you a picture of because they took up the whole 30-second commercial, right? There's this huge disconnect. So that's where I kind of, cut my teeth in marketing, was with dealerships, and then decided to go out on my own and help out small, medium-sized businesses. I started a firm 10 years ago, actually, that was called Futuristic Woo. And we went through a merger a few years ago and rebranded as 2 Ton. And along the way, I've started some other additional little companies. I think I'm kind of addicted to creating more companies and creating more jobs. But my main focus is what we do at 2 Ton and the clients that we take care of.
Yeah, I think it's something to be said that you're not only an elected official, you run a marketing agency, you have a newspaper that you had started, an umbrella company. And I remember the first time you were talking about the umbrellas, and I'm like, this is a kind of funky idea. And I see it, and then I walk in one day and you actually had it. It was just kind of pretty cool to see this crazy little idea that you pretty much just sketched out turn into something. But that's kind of a story of your career, I would say.
Yeah, it's and you know what? Some things are a success and some things are less of a success. When I talk about Joust Umbrellas being an umbrella corporation, people immediately think umbrella corporation. No, literally, we manufacture and sell umbrellas, just so that there's no confusion. This isn't a corporate structure. And they're for sale on Amazon. Unfortunately, I don't get to spend enough time on it. It's a fantastic product. I learned a lot along the way. So hopefully when I come out with another product in the future, I'll be able to use a lot of what I've learned, a lot of the mistakes I made when creating this project and having it manufactured with my next venture. So yeah. Until then, we should definitely get on Amazon and buy a Joust Umbrella, an incredible umbrella.
Hang on right here. I'm going to go as I am talking over to Amazon. And while I'm doing that, let's go back a little bit. You went to UCF. You were the first person in your family to graduate college. I know you also started some fun traditions there. You obviously learned a lot, but what was it like to be that guy to say, hey, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to be somebody, and obviously you become something really special now, but what was it like at that time when you were just getting into college?
You know what, being the first in my family to go to college, there wasn't a lot of pressure on me to go to college. I filled out all the forms and I scheduled the orientations and my parents were very supportive, but there was no pressure for me to go to college. And I was really just excited about, the experience and furthering my education. I did okay in high school, but the idea of what a college atmosphere had to offer really intrigued me. And I have mixed feelings about college, to be honest with you. I joke that I don't really know, out of the 20 people that work at 2 Ton, I don't really know who has a degree and who doesn't, and what it's in and where it's from. Because honestly, that's not really important to us. If you fit into our team and you are willing to learn and you bring a skill set to the table that we need, that's really all I need to hear. We actually just played a game. This would be a fun game for any organization. Is we filled out a survey online and talked about what we wanted to be when we grow up, what we do, what college we went to, what major we started with, what one we ended with, and then we played a Zoom game as a team where we all had to guess who was who. And it turns out I'm not the only one in the company that has no idea what we all went to school for and what our background is, right? So I have mixed feelings about college, but I think if you pick the right college with the right experiences and the right programs, that it could be very helpful. And that's what I did. I made the most of it when I was there. I can't say that my degree itself was worth it, but my degree plus getting involved in all the different opportunities that my college, University of Central Florida, offers, that's really what made it all worth it.
Yeah, I imagine you're probably had your hand in a lot learning in all these different things. But something I wanted to bring up before we go too far is Arnold Day. I know you're a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and if I got this right, you started this little tradition by just watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies with your roommates eating pizza all day in college, and that's kind of transferred over to your adult life. But, I'm probably butchering the story, but I think that's really good to mention about your college experience if you want to highlight that.
That was just my first experience of starting something, and it was something I grew organically. It was a buddy of mine that we decided that it was Arnold Schwarzenegger's birthday, and we were going to go into our friend's little pizza shop, which is now a legendary pizza location. There's 2 of them in Orlando. If you've been to UCF, Lazy Moon Pizza. But back when we went, it was just a little hole in the wall, and our friends owned it, and they were trying to build it up. And we said, hey, can we hang out here all day and celebrate Arnold Day and watch Arnold movies, literally on a VCR. I'm not that old, but that's all we had. And it was, it grew, and people kept coming in throughout the day wanting to watch movies with us. And we did 12 years of it. So I graduated college and continued to go back there for like 9 or 10 straight years. And we'd see close to 1,000 people would come throughout the day. People would dress up. Arnold impersonators would come. We'd raise a ton of money for charity. It always ends with everyone singing happy birthday. So it was fun. It ended a few years ago, but it was fun for the 12 years we did it.
You still keep the tradition up with your family a little bit?
Soon. You know, my kids are young. My son's 10, so he's just getting to that age where maybe we can start exploring some Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah, at least Kindergarten Cop, you know.
Yes,
start small.
of course.
So going back to your entrepreneurial journey for a moment, I know this story well, but you got started building up Futuristic Woo basically in the library, and you took that journey from building up a company from nothing, working tirelessly, and also then later on also building a newspaper too. The early days of Ryan the Entrepreneur, just always intriguing to hear about, but you know, tell us the story of like, okay, I'm jumping off the ledge, I'm working for myself, I'm going to make this happen. What happens next?
So yeah, I think that's really important that we hear more of these stories and not just of the end result of years and years. Like I said, I started an agency 10 years ago, and it was a tough step. I had just been married a few years before. I had a newborn son at home, and AutoNation and I didn't see eye to eye on a promotion they offered me. So they offered me the door, and I walked out and said, I'm starting my own company. And so the very next day I put on all the same clothes that I was used to putting on. And I went to work, except I really didn't have a place to go. I showed up at the library and I was too early. It turns out they don't open till 9. So I went to the coffee shop. I waited an hour, a little bit of a delay in my first day as being an entrepreneur. But then I went into the library and I rented my first office by the hour, because that's the way it works at a library. You get one of those little study rooms, but you got to rent it by the hour. And that was my first office. And it was really, I worked 80 hours a week. I would work all day long. I'd go home for dinner. I'd see my wife. I'd maybe, I'd put my son to bed and maybe hang out a little bit with her. And then when she'd go to bed, that's when my second shift started. And I'd work till 2, 3, sometimes 4 a.m. in the morning, and then get up the next day and do it again. And that was basically my first year and a half of being in business.
Wow. And I the whole library thing is kind of, ironic. I don't think you hear so much about that these days, but that whole, that's kind of transitioned to now you built up a company just a few blocks away from that into Two-Ton now, which it is obviously, at least to anybody that sees, one of the most high quality digital marketing firms in the area, for sure. But what is Two-Ton now? What are you guys up to? What's the fun stuff that gets you excited about? And what are the fun things that you and your team like to just explore around with?
Well, first, digital marketing is, of course, a huge part of what we do, but we're not just a digital marketing firm. We are a full creative agency, which is just, it's just important to put out there, because a lot of our clients still need traditional media. They still need print design, package design, and app development. And we do all of that at Two-Ton. I think most importantly, and I mentioned it earlier on, it's all about the people you surround yourself with. So at Two-Ton, we don't have any contractors. We do not outsource any aspect of what we do for our clients. And we also don't even have an associate we pay hourly. Every member of our team is a full-time salaried associate with benefits and perks team member of Two-Ton. And that comes first, and that's most important. And I think that's what our clients love most about us, is that that we have a partnership, and they know that we're part of their team. And then they'll talk about how great our work is, which is great. I like to get to that point. But what they'll first usually start off with is the relationship with us, how responsive we are, how flexible we are, how attentive we are, and how much they love us. And then if you drag it out of them, they'll also talk about how fantastic our design is, our copywriting, our programming is.
Yeah, and I'm always a fan of seeing some of the stuff you guys have on Facebook, some of your client portfolio and designs and whatnot. I think at one point you also made a cartoon of me. That was a fun little client project that I go online one day and I'm like, oh wow, I'm gonna be a Sunday morning cartoon now. But that's always been kind of fun to see, the tangibles of what you guys have done, especially even on some of the community brands out there. And I think probably most notably, you donate a lot of that time to different organizations, to Atlantic High School, I know, and you've also made pro bono work a big part of the company to say we want to be the company that also gives back and not just makes a payday, but also is paying it forward to other people in the community. I always thought that was very special.
Yeah, that's a big part of who we are. So not only do we work with nonprofits, have a special nonprofit rate, but we are constantly giving back. We're constantly donating our time. You mentioned schools. We've rebranded half a dozen schools in Palm Beach County, and all donated 100%. We've designed the uniforms at Atlantic High School, the football uniforms, for 8 straight years. They've been featured on ESPN, Yahoo Sports, Sports Illustrated for some of the designs we've done for them. So we have a lot of passion for all the nonprofits that do all the work in our county, but we have a special sweet spot for Palm Beach County youth and our schools. I'm really excited about a program that's going to launch here that I was able to put my 2 worlds together. If I could tell you a little bit about it, Joe.
Sure. Yeah.
This is called Project Bus Shelter, and what this is it's a project in Delray Beach to take our 60 bus shelters and to wrap them with almost a decal that looks like frosted glass. So they're still transparent. They don't look like a big advertisement, but they're wrapped in promotional icons for our different schools to promote our schools. And on the side, it has a big thank you to the sponsor, to the local business that sponsored that school and paid for that wrap. So at the end of filling every single one of these bus enclosures, we're going to have 60, which means every one of our 10 schools has 6 branded, wrapped bus shelters to promote their school and also to promote their connection with the business community with one of their sponsors. And I'm so proud to have the city of Delray Beach and the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce that both stepped up to be partners in this program. And we're about to unveil our first 3 wrapped bus shelters in the next few weeks here.
Nice. Always got something going on. So, but that's a good transition actually into talking about Delray Beach. And when I met you, you were not elected, and then you obviously ran for office and you were elected later on and became a city commissioner, now currently the vice mayor. So the number 2 on the city commission there. And, that's a job in itself, for sure. For those that, don't really realize, like, local office is, a lot. And I'm sure you get people calling you all throughout your workday. I'm sure you have people coming up to you, telling you about this or that or whatever. The traffic lights don't work outside my community, and, whatever. But that's an experience that I would love for you just to dive into for a minute or two and just tell us why you're passionate about it.
Yeah, so I say often that I'm an organic politician. And what I mean by that is I didn't grow up in a political household. I don't really support the party structure. I'm actually an NPA. I have no party affiliation. And I didn't have any goals of being in politics. I moved to a city, the city of Delray Beach, that's built upon people giving back, Our city was saved in the late 90s by our community coming together to save our downtown, and they formed a lot of boards and they gave back to their community, sitting in advisory positions or elected positions. And I decided that if I'm going to live here, then I should do the same. And one small board led to another, led to another, led to another. And next thing you know, after giving back for 6 or 7 years in Delray Beach, I was asked to run for city commission, and felt like I had the resume and the point of, the right perspective to do that. So 2.5 years ago, I ran and I won. And it's an incredible amount of work. I'm very, very lucky that my time at Two Ton sits around 40 or 50 hours a week, which is way less than the 80 hours it used to be years ago, which means I can dedicate, 15 to 20 hours a week to be the best commissioner I can be for Delray Beach.
Yeah, and I think 15 to 20 is probably being very compassionate towards what it really is in terms of your headspace at times. Because, I'm sure people will see in the newspaper, there is always something that'll come up that's a little contentious or something that gets people riled up. And, you got to be a trooper through that as well. But that aside, I'll just ask, like, do you see yourself continually kind of giving back to your community in these ways in the future? Maybe not as an elected commissioner, but do you see yourself constantly serving on boards and serving in elected office through your life to try and be part of your community?
That's a great question. And it's one that, I think a lot of us struggle with. We look at the issues in our own community, in our country, in the world, and we decide, how are we going to be a change agent? And right now I've chosen an elected position, and that's the direction I'm going to take. But in the future, I see a lot of incredible people that aren't in an elected position, that are very involved in nonprofits, that are very involved in groups in our community, that all have kind of a shared vision. I was on the phone recently with a group of residents that have come together for racial equality, racial equity policies to come in, to be moved forward in Delray Beach. And this group, the amount that they're doing in our community, the amount of good they're doing in our community is really inspiring. And they didn't need an elected seat to do it. So to answer your question, yeah, I will always find a way to give back and to be part of moving society forward in all the positive ways that we need to move. Whether or not I do it from an elected position or not, as an NPA right now, I think I've hit my ceiling. I don't know if I can go any higher. I'd have to pick a side, Joe. I'd have to pick a side. So
well you're doing good with where you're at right now, and I'm sure some people tell you otherwise. But you can disagree on things, but you put your heart in it and you do the right things for the right reasons. You're already more there than I think a lot of people can ask for. So that aside, kudos. But I would love to hit on going back to the cool dad thing for a second, because your weekdays are pretty filled, but I'm sure your weekends, I know you get out biking with the family. I've seen you set up a movie like screen on your front lawn before, and you do all these fun things. But tell us, like, what do you do with your family on the weekends? What do you try and do for fun? What do you try and do to get out of the house and get out of the monotony of your work life?
Yeah, so it's all about activities. It's about outdoors. It's about embracing that we live in this incredible state that has so much to offer. And this past summer, we've really explored some of central and northern Florida, seeing parts of Florida that my kids haven't seen yet. With all the different springs. So we're not just beaches in Disney World, right? We're so much more than that. Just the urban element of, downtowns, not only, obviously Delray Beach, but, to see what's happened in West Palm and the growth in Miami and in St. Petersburg, or to go to a historic town like St. Augustine. I don't think the urbanity of Florida gets enough credit. And we have so many neat little pockets. You talked about, UCF, Orlando, Winter Park. There's so many beautiful areas up there. So on the weekends, man, we just try to get out. And my son's gotten into mountain biking. And yes, there's great mountain biking in the very flat state of Florida. And then we take the surfboard out and just hang out. So it's all about being outdoors.
Serious question though, is your son cooler than you are?
Ooh, he definitely thinks he is.
So I think you've probably hit on this before, but let's just say COVID has kind of disrupted all of our lives. But if you're going to go on a family vacation, let's say everything subsides, we're in a good place in the world again, where do you think you guys will go to get away for like a week? Where's that, like, we're going to go disconnect and just be a family type of spot for y'all?
You know what? This isn't going to be any big surprise. We would jump up to North Carolina. We're trying to plan a trip now just to get up into the mountains outside of Asheville. We have some family. We have some family up there, and my kids love to be outdoors, but they also love different activities, right? So we don't tend to go on vacation to places with really great beaches. We live right down the street from one of the best beaches in the world. But for them to be able to play in a creek or float down a river or do a little hiking up a mountain, those are all fresh, new outdoor activities for them. So they really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Every summer for the last 7 years, we've taken a month off. My wife is a teacher. She has the summer off, and I work from the road for the month. And we've gone all over the United States, and it's usually bouncing around to different Airbnbs or friends and family's houses. And this was the first summer we weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
But there's been a silver lining, and I know a lot of us, it's hard to see sometimes, but the silver lining to this summer is the amount of time that I've got to spend with my family, with my wife, with my kids at home, has been really great. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And we've taken these little 3-day, 4-day trips up to places like Palatka, Florida. Joe,
Yeah.
have you ever been to Palatka, Florida?
No, I know exactly where it is though. Right
on
the
river
it is, up there.
Well, I've been there and I've stayed there, for 4 or 5 days, and I would have never selected Palatka, Florida.
Nice
and we also,
town.
It is a nice little old Florida town. And we went up to Lake Dora, and we spent a few days in Lake Dora and Tavares, and little towns like that.
Dora.
Mount Dora.
Yeah,
Mount
it does
Dora.
have a lake there, but
Sorry.
You got to get the shirt that says I climbed Mount Dora, which is basically I went a little above sea level.
Yes.
That's all it is. There is no high mountain anywhere in Central Florida. It's just a slightly above elevated position.
Yeah.
True. I like that. It's a good scenario. And I just went up to Asheville last week, as a matter of fact. And I got to go up and down some of the waterfalls and some of the hiking, and your kids would love it for sure. There's a lot of really neat, fun stuff to do up there basically in the middle of nowhere. You're like driving on a 2-lane road, right over the mountain cliffs, and you're like, okay, 10 and 2, we're getting through this. But there's like just a lot of fun stuff up there. So I can see you guys really enjoying it. And what I like most about the stuff that you just brought up is you brought up small towns, you brought up disconnect, you brought up, okay, let's bring up a different environment and let's try and recharge. And I think that's something, even as old or as young as I might think I am at times, is just something that, we can't learn enough to be able to just to be able to come back and be a better person, and just keep on knocking stuff out for the people around us who are really counting on us to do the good things in their lives. So that said, we're going to go to the last question here, and that's one call to action for our South Florida tech community. What is one thing that you would leave us with at the end of the podcast?
Tell your story. We other entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs like yourself, they don't have enough examples of people that have been successful. And I don't mean front cover of Fortune magazine, yacht and private jet successful. I mean the people that have been able to support their family, have been able to put a roof over their head, doing the thing that they love, right? More of the stories of this is what success looks like. This is what you should be aiming. And if you go above and beyond that, that's great. But I feel like there's not enough examples of what it's like to be a entrepreneur or a small business or a mom and pop, right? These are all achievable, very rewarding careers. And I think that we set this bar, this create a Facebook, create the next Tesla bar that is so hard to achieve. And not that all the young people out there can't do it, but there is this whole world of owning your own business that is extremely rewarding. And I think you just need to see, they need to see more examples of it. So tech community out there, tell your story so all that the young entrepreneurs out there have something realistic to strive for.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. Two Tons obviously been a member of originally Palm Beach Tech, now South Florida Tech for a number of years. They've helped us on a number of occasions too with our marketing and our website. So you want to join them, become part of South Florida Tech, go to southfloridatech.com. You can join as a member. You can click get involved and see some other opportunities to just engage with us. Also want to give a shout out to our producing sponsors at Media Ops, the premier global media platform for technical communities with brands like DevOps.com, Security Boulevard, and Container Journal, also based right here in South Florida. So huge thanks to Alan and Brian for putting our podcast together. And of course, back to Ryan, thank you so much for everything that you do for our tech community, for our South Florida community, for the city of Delray Beach, and just being the great guy that you are. So thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Joe. And it was great to see you.
Good to see you, man. Bye.